If I had to start my real estate business over from scratch, this is exactly what I would do. Now, I've been investing in real estate for over 15 years. I'm a professional general contractor, flipped over 300 houses, and I own 150 plus rental units that bring me around $2 million in rental revenue each year. I'm going to show you the 7 steps that I would take in 2026 if I lost it all. Okay, starting with number 1. Imagine yourself going to buy a vehicle. Who do you think the car salesperson takes more serious? The guy that goes in and says, hey, I'll take a 2017 Ford F-250. I want the XLT version. Make it white because I want it to look like a work truck. I want those seats in the front that are like the 60/40, not the full seats with the center console and all that kind of stuff. Or the guy that comes in, he says, I'll take a truck. All right, car salesperson knows that shopper number 1 is serious. That guy has authority. And that's what you need to have when you go out to find your deal. And you do that by defining your buy box, knowing exactly what type of house you're going to buy in what neighborhoods. Okay. And the key thing to a buy box is the neighborhood. All right. Now, you don't buy houses in a zip code. You buy it on a specific neighborhood, which is really defined by census tracts. If you go look up census tracts, that is how you draw the parameter around the neighborhood that you want to buy in. All right. And that is a key distinction because there are many different neighborhoods inside of a zip code, many different zip codes inside of a county, and there could be multiple counties inside of a city. Okay, so you really want to get hyper local with where you're buying. And inside of that neighborhood, there's going to be similar houses, comparable houses, comps, so to speak. Now, I'm going to further define down that I want to buy houses that are around 800, 900 square feet, all the way to around 2,500 square feet. Now, I know 900 square feet is on the small side, but a lot of times the records are going to be wrong and they're maybe a little bit bigger than that. Maybe an addition was done. So I wouldn't want to take those out of my buy box just in case. And honestly, small houses like that can make for great rentals. All right, I'm looking in around the median price of a city. So in my city, the median price is around like $320,000. All right, I'm not going to go too far above the median price. Let's say 20% at most. So I'm going to be under $400,000. Those are the types of houses I'm looking for because that's a safety zone. A lot of people like to do luxury type of houses. Those can be big home runs. You could have big wins on one deal, but I like base hits. Base hits win ball games. Think about the Oakland A's Moneyball. That's what I always think about. They were just trying to get on base, not trying to hit home runs. That's how I invest in real estate. That's how I think you should invest in real estate, especially if I'm just getting started out. I want to gain momentum for myself. I don't want to go for big swings and possibly lose. I want to get, $20, $30, maybe $40,000 on a deal and then put it towards my next one and then my next one. All right. Step 2, let's go back to the dealership. Have you ever went to trade a car in and you go look at Kelley Blue Book? Kelley Blue Book says, oh, that car is worth $20,000. You go to the dealership, dealer says, we can give you like $13K for that. And then you later find out that they sold the thing for $23,000. And you're like, oh gosh, I wish I could have just met that person directly and I could have sold it to him for $20,000 to Kelley Blue Book. I would have been happy. They would have been happy. Everybody would have been happy. Except for the dealer, of course. Well, that's what happens when it comes to buying houses, is you're going through real estate agents and everybody's got to get their cut. Real estate agents got to get paid, the MLS fees, all that stuff, the brokerages, they all need to be covered. The inspectors need to come in. Everybody's got to get paid. Wholesalers, trust me, they're getting paid. Huge rips. These guys are getting ridiculous fees these days. All right, you need to go straight to the source. You need to find the sellers that want to get rid of their house but don't want to deal with all the crap and they want to sell them fast. All right, this is direct to seller marketing because in step 1, you already figured out the neighborhoods that you want to buy in. All right, we only picked a few neighborhoods, maybe 3 to 8 neighborhoods if you want to get advanced here. And I'm going to know everything about those neighborhoods. I'm going to know what houses sell for, therefore what I would pay for those houses. I'm going to apply my calculations to it. And I'm going to know the neighborhoods like the back of my hand, so I'm going to know what type of shape they're in. And especially since I'm only going to be doing deals in those neighborhoods, I'm going to more intimately know what's inside of those houses, what kind of utilities, the issues they might have, because they were probably all built near the same time if they're in the same neighborhood. Okay, so I'm going to know all those things. I'm going to go direct to seller marketing, which, guys, this is the thing that holds up most of you guys from actually becoming ultra successful real estate investors. Is you're getting your deals from everybody else and you're getting really marginal deals. Everything's got to work out perfectly for you, which nothing ever works out perfectly in this game. Therefore, your profit margins become very thin. Whereas if you just figured out how to get the same type of deals that these wholesalers were getting, you would be so far in the lead. You would have a head start on every single deal you ever do. You would have more room to mess up in the construction, which I know you will, because I still do. You would have more time because you wouldn't be worried if you're taking a loan from somebody. You wouldn't be worried about the monthly payments and all that kind of stuff. And you would just have more profits at the end. It'd be great for everybody. And the sellers are going to get more money than they're going to get other ways anyway. So it's great for everybody. And once again, you're focused on these few neighborhoods and you're going to know them like the back of your hand. So you're not going to waste these people's time. And what you're going to do to reach them is you're going to send a mail. It's that simple. You're going to get a list. Okay. You go to places like Property Radar, PropStream, List Source. There's all kinds of these providers out here. And basically what they do is they scrape records, meaning they have some system set up. This isn't a technology channel here, but basically they have a way to go onto the county assessor records and wherever you live, and they take the address of the subject property. Okay, I want to look at this house here at 123 Main Street. And then they know who the owner is and they know what the owner's mailing address is. I'm going to take my list and I'm going to send mail to them. There's lots of different providers that do this. Yellow Letter HQ, Open Letter Marketing, Ballpoint Marketing. There's other options out there as well. These are some of the main ones. And all I'm going to do is get just their popular card. Okay, they have postcards or letters. I'm just going to use what they have on there for now. No need for you to learn copywriting and learn how to make custom letters at this point. Just send out what's in there because that's what's worked for other people. That's good enough for now. So I send them mail and eventually they're going to call because of the mail that I sent. The people who need somebody like you who is going to be a cash buyer, we'll get to that, and is going to close quickly, is going to take away whatever problems they have that made them call a postcard that they got in the mail or a letter that they got in the mail. And that's it. It's that simple. One other thing is you need to set up what I call home base, or this is what I would do in my first year. So I would set up a home base, which is a website, okay, that I would put on the postcard so they can see that I'm a real person. And I'm going to have a local address. I'm going to have a local phone number that they can call. Local is important because there's lots of out-of-staters and that turns people off. It decays trust right from the start. So I want to show them that, hey, I'm right here in the area. And you might be thinking, okay, well, what if I'm out of the area? Watching the wrong channel, guys. I believe that you need to invest in your backyard. Okay, you need to be there to be able to manage the crap that's going to go on these job sites. You want to, maybe in the future, you want to do out-of-state investing. All right, but you're taking different risks. It's going to cost you more money, and there's going to be more mistakes made. That's fine. Once you get rich, that's fine. Go ahead, make some mistakes, lose some money. It doesn't matter. But this is my first year, remember? I'm restarting in 2026 for this video. Therefore, I want to make sure that I take out any risk possible. Okay, step number 3. I've sent the mail. Now I'm waiting because it doesn't just happen overnight. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Okay, so in the meantime, while I'm waiting, I am going to reach out to lenders, contractors, and maybe a realtor. Okay. But the point here is I want to build my team. And a lot of people get mind blown with this. They think they got to go figure out their CPA, their attorney. They got to, meet with this person, that person. No, literally, you need just a couple of people. You need your contractors, and you don't need all the contractors. Here's what you need: an all-arounder. These are people that kind of can do everything. They don't do anything all that great, but they kind of have a crew, and they can do, floors and paint. They can do cabinets. They'll take out the trash. They don't care. They just want to get paid. Okay, but they have some skills. The advanced version of an all-arounder would be like a handyman. Handyman does everything. They do it all pretty well. I want to find these all-arounder crews, and I'm going to go up to Home Depot and find them. Okay, I know exactly what they look like. Made a lot of videos on profiling for these guys, and that's it. I'm going to find them today. I could go down there today, and I would find an all-arounder who would come bid a job that I have going on, and they would get hired right away, do the work. Obviously, in this example, I'm going to go meet these people before I get a property. Those all-arounder. Next is like MEP subs, so mechanical, electrical, plumbing. You're going to need different subcontractors for these because they're going to be licensed separate, and you'll need them to pull a permit if a permit is needed to be pulled for that project. If not, I'm going to let the all-arounder do it. And then I usually would look for a roofer as well because they usually have better pricing. But for my first deal, probably not. And in fact, for my first deal, I would probably find a deal that doesn't need permits pulled. It's mostly cosmetic. So then I could only look for an all-arounder, have a great all-arounder, which is the meat and potatoes of my business. And I worry about all that other stuff later. And the other team member that I need is a lender, right? Because I'm just starting out. Therefore, I'm not going to have cash to go buy that. If you do, great. Don't worry about the lender. But if you don't, need to get a lender. Here's the thing, is you're not lining up the lender before you get the deal, because lenders in our game, they don't care so much about you or your credit score. They care about the deal itself, because most of them are like graduated house flippers, graduated real estate investors. So they know what a good deal is. And if it's a great deal and it's got a lot of room in it, meaning it's a house that's going to be worth $300,000 and you're getting it for $150,000, they're like, oh yeah, I'll give you money for that because I know it's really safe. And if you mess it up, I'll just take it and I'll go do the flip myself because I know how to do that. Those are the type of lenders that you want. But once again, you're simply just out there meeting people right now, because until you have a deal to present them, well, you don't have a deal to be made with them. And still on step 3, this is like step 3.1. I'm also going to set up a corporate entity, an LLC. All right. I don't want to do this in my personal name. I want to do this in a LLC. That way, if something goes wrong with my investment, it doesn't come to me personally and affect my family or our family home. And so you start an LLC. That's what you're going to purchase this house in. And advanced method, what I would probably do is set up 2 LLCs, one that's going to hold the property and one that's going to be an operating co. So that way, when I get a loan to buy this property, let's just take the $300,000 property. ARV, after repair value, is going to be $300,000. I'm going to acquire that property for $150,000. It's going to need $30,000 to $40,000 worth of work. So now I'm going to be all in for like $190,000, but a hard money lender, they'll give me a little bit more money than that. So actually the company that's going to get paid to go do that $40,000 worth of work is going to be my operating co. And since it's going to cost me a little bit less than that, I'll be able to take a little bit of salary home right up the top. And also the deal that I find through the operating co is going to have a wholesale fee when it gets sold to my hold co. And that way, as soon as I close on that deal, I'll be able to take, $10,000, maybe $20,000, put it in the bank. That way I have some living expenses while I'm getting going here. You see how you can get going right away, right? Did you see how I did that? OpCo finds the deal, sells it to HoldCo, does a wholesale deal with the HoldCo. So at closing, the OpCo gets $10,000 or $20,000 of a closing fee, a wholesale fee that, of course, comes to me as the owner of the OpCo. And I already have grocery money right out of the gate instead of having to wait 6 months until that flip gets sold. Great. All right. Step number 4 is I'm going to close the deal. So basically, I'm executing the plan here. I'm going to close the deal with the seller. I'm going to close the loan that I went out and found. After I got the deal under contract, I went out and I went to one of the lenders that I built a relationship with, got the loan, whatever terms they have, probably like 12%, maybe 3 points up front. That means if it was a $200,000 loan, I'm going to pay 3 points would be 3% of 200,000. That's $6,000. And I would pay that at the closing table along with the wholesale fee that I was telling you about. Okay. I'm going to close the loan, and then I'm going to have my scope of work that I made as I was buying the property, right? Part of buying the property was building a scope of work and a budget. And now I'm going to take that scope of work, talk to the contractor that I met up at Home Depot and say, this is the scope of work that I want you to perform. They're going to give me a bid to do that job. And once I agree upon it, and remember, I only agree upon a bid if it has the jobs that I have on my scope of work and a pay schedule. So I want to know when they get X, Y, and Z done, they want paid this amount. And that way I have my checkpoints on which I need to go check on the project. And also, since it's the only one I'm doing at this point, I'm probably going to DIY as much of that work as I can because that's going to give me even more head start, more room for errors, which I know that I'm going to make because it's my first year, right? Okay. Step number 5, after I finish the project, I'm going to go out and find a realtor. I do want to say one other thing that, yes, I could DIY a whole house myself. Used to do that. That's how I came up in this business, was I learned how to do all this stuff myself. But even if you don't know jack about how to do houses, you can do landscaping, you can do painting, you can change hardware. You could probably learn floors, like LVP floors by watching a couple of YouTube videos. There's lots you can do. You can do clean outs. There's lots you can do if you're willing to do what it takes. And I hope you are. I hope that's why you watch my channels, because you're the type of person that will do what it takes. If you are, by the way, you should join my free For Now school community. The link is in the description. I love to hang out with people who are like-minded. Step number 5, going to sell that thing. You're going to find a realtor who's a freaking pit bull. All right. Not all realtors are created equal. In fact, most of them suck. All right. So sorry if you're a realtor and you're watching this, but most of you are lazy. You are just getting your contract to list the property. You're spending most of your time like an insurance company. Insurance companies, they spend all of their budget on marketing to get new customers, and then their legal team to make sure they never have to pay any of those customers. Whoops. All right. But anyway, similar with real estate agents, spending all their time getting new contracts to list a property, because once you have a listing property, you just list it on the MLS and just sit and wait for things to happen and wait to make your money. It's awesome. Why not? And the one thing that they're really concerned with is making sure they don't rub another realtor, one of their realtor buddies, the wrong way. And so they care more about that, their image amongst the other realtor friends, than they do of actually getting you the best amount of money possible. All right. So you want a pit bull, somebody who doesn't give a crap about any of that stuff, and they're going to go fight for you on the front end. They're going to do the best digital introduction they possibly can. And you're going to manage them to do this, but digital introduction. Okay. So think about this. What you want to do is you want to create the best filter you possibly can, and through which buyers perceive your property. So there's a few steps to the digital introduction. All right. The first place they're going to see it is online. Their realtor is going to send them listings. And so first thing is going to be the price. If it's in the right price range for that buyer, then it's going to come into their inbox and they're going to see it. Pricing is really important, because if you overprice it, what happens is it's going to sit on the market longer than it should. And if a house sits on the market longer than the average days on market, if average days on market is 60 days and yours has been sitting there for 70, now you've created a negative filter, which is everybody's looking at it and they're like, what's wrong with this property? It's been on the market way longer than all these other properties. Okay, so that's a negative filter. And also with pricing, you got to think about it. Your buyer, they might be a up to $350,000 buyer. Okay, and so if you have priced yours at 370 instead, you're now not looking at your ideal buyer is not looking at your property. It's these people who are looking at nicer properties. So now your property is the crappiest one they see all day. They're never going to buy it. You want to be the nicest property that these up to $350,000 buyers see every day. They see all the crappy ones, then they see yours. They're like, oh, wow, that looks great. Love that one. Okay, pricing, that's the first thing. Next is the photos. All right, that's the first image that people have of your property. So you want to make sure that you do the renovation in a way that, like, as they're actually physically walking up to the property, it is striking to them. You start to create a great filter, but you want the photos to show that same thing in that same order. And finally is the listing description. So a lot of the lazy agents out there, welcome to 123 Main Street. Nah, that sucks. That's terrible copywriting. Copywriting is writing in a way that gets people to take an action. And the action you want is twofold. One is for them to book a showing, and two is for them to love your property and to create that filter right from the start. So you want your agent to write in a way that makes somebody feel themselves in that property. Okay? Not ChatGPT, write a listing description for me and it looks exactly like it came out of ChatGPT. No, it's got to be great copywriting. Okay, that's one that the Pitbull realtor does for you, is they actually try to sell the property after they've gotten the listing description or the listing contract from you. And then they go fight it every inch. Okay, a deal comes in, somebody goes to look at the property, they're calling them. Hey, what'd they think of this? Can I get some feedback? Are they going to put in an offer? And then when they put in an offer, it's not that they try to convince you to take a bad deal. They try to talk with you and strategize with you about how they're going to get more money for that house out of those people. And then when the inspection resolution comes up, they don't say, oh yeah, we should probably just maybe give them a credit so that way we can get through this thing. And maybe you should just go ahead and do X, Y, and Z that came up on the inspection. Nah, they should say, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Here's how we can get out of this for less money. Here's how we can, using their experience. You know what? I bet you that the agent or the buyer, they're not going to be worried about these things. So we're going to take that off the plate for them. But they're really worried about these things. I could tell when I was talking to the buyer's agent, because I was really picking his brain to try to figure out what their biggest issues are. And here's how I think we can strategize to get the best outcome here. That's what I want out of my real estate agent. I want them to fight for every inch. Okay, so step number 6, as soon as that house is listed and I have nothing to do now because I'm just waiting for it to get sold, I'm going out back to step 1, looking for my next deal. Or I guess it's step 2. That's where I get the list and do the thing. But I'm going out looking for my next deal. And then step 7 is, of course, I would do my next deal. And I would basically be thinking, I got to keep flipping until I have enough cash to be able to hold my next one as a rental. Okay, and so here is what I would do. I would keep flipping until I had enough to cover my living expenses for 1 year. So I keep a budget, which you should as well, watch your money. And if my budget says that I need $60,000 for a year of living expenses, I want to make sure I have my $60,000. I want to make sure I have escrow for my next flip. So if I have to put down, let's say the hard money loan, a hard money loan for $200,000 is, I have to put down 3 points on the front end. So that's what, $6,000, and maybe they're going to make me put down some more money. Maybe I have to put down $10,000 or $15,000 to close that loan. So I got $10,000 or $15,000 plus the $75,000 or the $60,000 of living expenses. So I need $75,000, and then I want enough for one more deal. So another 15,000 or whatever I'd need to put down. And that would be the $90,000. Are you with me? I'd have the $60,000 of living expenses, escrow for flip number one, another $15,000. That gives me 60 plus 15, 75. And then one other flip, which is going to actually be my rental. So I need a total of $90,000 that I saved up from my flipping activities. And that's when I would have two flips going at the same time. One would be to flip to replenish my cash. The other one would be to hold as a rental, because ultimately that is the game. Okay. Flipping is the catalyst to being able to hold property. Holding property is what brings you true wealth. That's what this channel is really about, is how you use a house flipping business to become your catalyst for true wealth. That's what I make all these videos about. I told you, got a free school community. You should join. Listing description, not the listing description. This isn't real estate. The description for this YouTube video has the link for that. Also, check out this other video. Guys, good luck in 2026. Bye-bye.